Македонија може да биде единствена земја на која што на потрошувачите им е оневозможено да одберат снабдувач на електрична енергија, пишува во годишниот извештај на Европската енергетска заедница. Оваа недела висока делегација токму од енергетската заедница престојува во Скопје. Со нас во студиото вечерва првиот човек Јанес Копач. Mr. Kopacz, welcome.
Good evening. Добро вечер.
You came to our studio directly after a meeting with our government officials. Who did you meet and what was the key message that you delivered?
First I met Minister Bekim Naziri, and then later I met also some other people from the ministry, including Deputy Minister. And of course we were talking about all the open issues which are seen or which are stemming out of our annual implementation report, which you mentioned in your first words. And we were discussing how to overcome these open issues. And I can say that I was very positively surprised. Minister Naziri prepared a very detailed roadmap for adoption of a new energy law, which shall be prepared in next weeks, and which shall be discussed on the meeting of the government or cabinet of ministers latest on 30th of December and approved in the parliament latest on the end of January 2016. This is a very ambitious plan. We will be very happy to assist and hopefully we will succeed and do it together.
Interesting. Mr. Kopacz, you came to Skopje immediately after announcing the report that states that the reforms in the energy sector are stagnating. What actually did you mean by that?
Macedonia in last year made some, let's say, very strange movements which were really not necessary. For example, one was a prolongation of prohibition of some electricity consumers to choose their supplier. Then there was also a very cumbersome solution in the energy performance of buildings law, which envisages certification of existing buildings when Macedonia will enter EU. Yes. And there were some other, let's say, relatively ununderstandable solutions, which somehow have thrown a little bit strange light on Macedonia. But I think that now with this very positive approach of Minister, really once again, I have a very optimistic view that we will overcome these problems very soon.
Mr. Kopacz, in the report you point out that Macedonia could be the only country where customers are denied the right to choose a supplier. But however, the local authorities claim that if the electricity market is open, the price for the household will increase for 70%, but suppliers on the other hand, they assure us that the companies will pay 30% lower prices. Tell me, is it possible to open the market at the same time and to avoid this price shock?
It's not possible to do it over the night. No, it's not possible. Some transitional period is necessary. And this is possible also under so-called third energy package compliant energy law. Macedonia is not the only country with such problems. Also some other countries envisaged some transitional periods and gradual liberalization. Most probably we will be happy to assist Macedonia. We will have to design some transitional periods as well. But simply prolonging possibility to choose the supplier till 2020, like it is in existing amendments to or existing energy law, this is too simple and not acceptable.
But indeed, it's interesting this new information that you are telling us with Minister Naziri that you discussed, but the energy community opened a case due to the delay. What will now happen? What are the consequences that Macedonia could...
If there will be a productive discussion about a new draft law, of course we will recall the infringement procedure which we started against Macedonia, and nothing will happen. Otherwise, sometimes they ask us, what happens if you start infringement procedure, what then? Things are not that simple. On the end, infringement procedure can end into curtailment of EU funds. This is, let's say, one sanction. Another sanction, which, for example, Bosnia and Herzegovina is facing right now, because they were accused of breaching the Energy Community Treaty obligations. In gas sector, it's something else. Then there are some other sanctions as well, which are not very pleasant. So these things are not that simple. I mean, infringement procedure inside energy community has some serious consequences.
Why does the energy community insist to Macedonia to open the market for electricity, when we know that Croatia did the same only one day before becoming a member in EU?
Croatia did it on time. It was just incidentally that they were entering EU approximately at that time. Macedonia, being a member of energy community, obliged itself, it was its free choice, to introduce or to liberalize electricity market with 1st of January 2015, and it didn't do it. Once again, we can understand all the problems. We can understand problems especially of socially vulnerable customers, which could be endangered, but there are also measures to protect them on the other side.
What are the measures to protect them?
Measures to protect them are subsidies for social assistance or subsidies, and Macedonia already has a system of subsidies for a category of socially vulnerable customers. These are people who are registered at Ministry for Social Affairs as being endangered, and maximum subsidies up to 10 euros, something like this currently. Of course, this system has to be rediscussed and reinforced for perhaps bigger portion of so-called socially vulnerable customers, perhaps with a different definition of them. But there is no need really to subsidize or to sell cheap electricity to every single person who can perhaps afford higher price. So there are people who are rich, but of course they pay. They have to pay only lower price of electricity because the subsidy is a general one. So the substance of so-called third energy package, there are three substances. One is to define really socially vulnerable customers and to help them on the other side. The second one is to establish a real independent energy regulator who will be independent and who will strictly follow the principle of cost reflectiveness when designing the tariffs for the using of infrastructure. And the third thing is so-called unbundling of transmission system operator and distribution system operator. This is in Macedonia didn't happen, so EVN as distribution system operator is not unbundled. So it's a distribution system operator and supplier of electricity in the same company. and also transmission system operator MEPSO is not properly unbundled, because unbundling means that somebody who operates the infrastructure is completely independent from somebody who has commercial activities, and this is ELEN. So if both of them are in state ownership, they have to be somehow in different universes. They have to be under different ministries, and there have to be additional provisions which somehow enforce, let's say, so-called Chinese wall between such two entities, not to having influence on each other's functioning.
And why do we need to do that?
This is needed to enable fair competition, because some things are natural monopoly, so infrastructure, you can't have two high voltage cables, there is only one, or you can't have two cables, there is only one. So everybody, every trader has to have a right to use this monopolistic service, but this monopolistic service has to have a price which is defined by somebody who looks only on real costs and is of course independent. So this is energy regulator.
Mr. Kopač, now you are talking about the third package.
Yes.
Could you explain us what is included in this third package and why it's so important for Macedonia?
It's not only for Macedonia, it's for everybody. So these are these three things which I was just mentioning: socially vulnerable customers, unbundling, and truly independent energy regulator. And with these three things, you can really introduce a competition. Because competition is not possible if there is some biased behavior of authorities or of one major market participant. And if you want to develop true competition, then you need, these are three preconditions.
Mr. Kopač, you insist on a new legislation regarding energy, and you were just saying that you were discussing with Mr. Naziri about this issue. What should be included in this new legislation?
New legislation should, of course, envisage so-called solutions of so-called third energy package, which I just described. And there shall be, of course, many other provisions related to organizing the market and functioning of the energy sector. So nothing very special on top of what you already have. Only these three things which I mentioned are very important and crucial.
Thank you. Now I will make a break. Почитувани овде правиме пауза за реклами. Наскоро во продолжение за новите детали и препораки кои што следуваат за МЕПСО, за регулаторната комисија, но и она каде сме ние во регионот со напредокот во самиот енергетски сектор. Првиот човек на Европската енергетска заедница, гостин во 24 анализа, господинот Јанес Копач. Mr. Kopač, you had a Western Balkan Summit in Vienna?
Yes, this was a huge event on 27th of August. All prime ministers, including Prime Minister Gruevski, came there. They were discussing many important issues, but one of them was also energy connectivity. And they decided about 4 electricity corridors, which will be co-financed by European Union. One of them is Bitola-Elbasan. So on Macedonian side, it will be quite substantially subsidized by European Union. But on the other side, prime ministers had to promise that they will enforce some things which give a sense to this connectivity. And these 3 things, so it was about 3 things. One is that they will establish regional balancing market. that balancing services are these services of urgent need of electricity when, for example, there is a scarcity. Then they promised, including Prime Minister Gruevski, that they will all enter into regional capacity allocation office for cross-border allocation of capacities, and they promised that they will or establish national power exchange, electricity power exchange, or join a neighboring initiative. And all this has to be done in 1 year. Macedonia will, following this promise of Prime Minister, have to enter into capacity allocation office in Podgorica very soon, in 1 or 2 months, because Macedonia is next to Serbia, which is entering now, the only country from the region which didn't enter yet. Then Macedonia will have to develop idea about national electricity power exchange or joining something in the neighborhood, or the third thing is Macedonia will have to change the energy law to allow MEPSO to buy balancing services also outside the country, because they are much cheaper. And of course this will have an influence on Macedonian consumers. They will be less burdened with the tariff which now they have to pay for MEPSO. MEPSO is now buying these services only inside the country. They are not allowed to buy them outside. Of course, they're much more expensive. So these 3 things were promised, and now the Secretariat, which I represent, will closely monitor how these barriers are removed. Barriers for regional trade are removed. We have to report to the European Commission regularly, and on top of that, also European Bank for Reconstruction and Development, and I believe also other donors will condition any financial involvement in Macedonia with realization of these promises. And these promises are first step in this promise is adoption of new energy law. But as I said, I'm very optimistic. Minister Neziri is well prepared on early adoption of this law.
So you're saying that all these recommendations that you gave us, they could influence in the future regional projects financed by EU?
Yes, of course. I mean, this was, EU is somehow giving some money. It's a carrot, but on the other side, they say, but you have to do something for it. It's not, you have to show regional integration, because EU is supporting integration, not isolation. They are helping, they are assisting also financially, but on the other side they would like to see integration.
Mr. Kopac, you also have recommendation for the gas sector, but before we discuss it, can you please give us comment which pipeline should we expect first, Turkish Stream or Trans-Adriatic pipeline?
Trans-Adriatic pipeline is being built already, so it's in a process, and I think it will be finished around 2019 or 20. Turkish Stream is currently only an idea. Who knows if it will happen at all? But the future in gas market is not in big major pipelines like South Stream, Turkish Stream, Nord Stream, Nabucco, and so on. So there are many splendid ideas. The future, the solution are many tiny interconnections between countries. For example, Macedonia has only one interconnection with Bulgaria, which is on Bulgarian side now 100% rented by Gazprom, and this is why Gazprom has to complete monopoly, and this is why Gazprom is selling very expensive gas to Macedonia. If Macedonia would have another connection, I believe everybody would like to have it, it's not a problem in Macedonian politics, then there would be competition, and also, of course, gas would be cheaper. So these are real solutions, not big streams like Turkish Stream, Nord Stream, South Stream.
So what is your position, like energy community, towards Turkish Stream?
I don't have any position. It's outside the territory of energy community. I can't comment it, but my personal opinion is that it is not very possible.
In your last interview for 24 News, you said that the price of the gas in Macedonia is one of the most expensive in Europe. Is it something changed after 2 years?
No, unfortunately not. It's not a fault of Macedonian authorities, far from that. It's a result of Gazprom's monopoly. But it is still Gazprom's monopoly.
So you're saying that we now have the most expensive price of the gas?
I would say most expensive, or one of most expensive prices.
What is our progress in the renewable energy sources? What are the recommendations in this?
Macedonia has an obligation to obtain 28% of renewable energy sources in final energy consumption till 2020. Currently it is, of course, much lower. The problem of Macedonia is that Macedonia didn't adopt national action plan on renewable energy sources. This emission will go out on Friday. Today, Minister Neziri said that he will try tomorrow, so it means on Tuesday, to push such a national action plan, which is prepared through the government. So hopefully till Friday, when people will see our show or interview, this will be already adopted. I don't know. But this is a formal obligation. What is in real life? Macedonia is a little bit below the so-called trajectory from now till 2020. Not much. With some additional activities, it would be completely on trajectory, so I'm quite optimistic.
In which sectors do we have progress in this report? You already had positive comments regarding the energy efficiency.
Yes, in energy efficiency many things are happening, but there is one issue pending, so it is adoption of, again, national energy efficiency action plan, which hasn't happened yet, and it should happen long ago. And another one is establishment of energy efficiency fund. There are 3 ideas in Macedonia currently. One is that this energy efficiency fund should be under bank for development bank, something like this, what is relatively strange. The other one is that it should be an independent institution, completely independent, and the third one is that it should be an independent fund under the Ministry of Economy. That third solution would be most logical one for me, but of course it's up to Macedonian politics to decide.
Now I have to say that I will repeat this question, but I am hoping for a different answer from our last interview. The regulator commission, how would you evaluate its independence?
Since we do not have a new energy law which would re-establish the position of energy regulator anew, so from scratch, I can only repeat my last answer from 2 years ago. Energy regulator is not independent, really. I mean, there is always a threat of this psychological status or readiness of the commissioners in the energy regulator, what is a very strange and very weird definition. Somehow energy regulator should have, this is part of the directive, rotating scheme of the commissioners. So there should be, let's say, 6 commissioners, and every year 1 or 2 should be replaced. There should always be some continuity, but there should always be some freshness as well. This is not the case in Macedonia currently, but new energy law, again, I'm optimistic, will solve this problem as well.
How would you rate the development of the region regarding the energy sector? Where is Macedonia?
Oh, Macedonia opened its electricity market for around 40% of consumption. So there are around 250 companies which are really on an open market. This was once, when it happened, a big step forward. So Macedonia was most developed. But now with this limitation of choosing the supplier, the reform was somehow backwards oriented. Then Macedonia has an unsolved, long-standing or long-pending problem with defining relations between the state and the gas transmission system operator. There is a dispute with Markpetrol and Gamma. There is a new established transmission system operator, which is not real transmission system operator yet, Makedonski Energetski Resursi. So, and all these unsolved questions and disputes, of course, have a negative influence on the development of the sector. Macedonia still didn't transpose the so-called third energy package. If we look around Macedonia, okay, Bulgaria and Greece, of course, they approved it already. Albania adopted a new third energy package electricity law. Albania is very fast in electricity reforms currently. Kosovo is just about to approve it. Serbia approved third energy package compliant law in December last year, and is also very fast in energy reforms. So Macedonia is in a delay. I mean, in the region with the surrounding, I would say, less progressive. Again, I'm positive that the new draft energy law will overcome these problems very soon.
So, Mr. Kopač, can we conclude that maybe the new legislation law will mean a faster opening the sector for electricity market?
Yes, that should be definitely the final goal.
Before 2020?
Oh yes, I mean 2020 is not acceptable.
And what will be acceptable year?
I can't say it now. I mean, of course, the reform should enter into force on 1st of January this year. It's not realistic. Perhaps, most probably, 1st of January next year is not realistic as well. But let's discuss, we will discuss with the government about the open problems, because there are some problems with the position of ELEM, which is not prepared for open competition yet. There are some other open issues. But these issues, of course, have to be tackled with transitional provisions, but we have to discuss about this. The problem of Macedonia is every country has problems. Macedonia has problems as well. But Macedonian authorities do not discuss these problems. They somehow, cover them, or they isolate themselves. It's not a problem. We can discuss openly about it. We will find a solution. We will we are understandable. I mean, we are not wild animals who would strictly, stick to the paper solutions. But the important is to discuss things. Till now, there was not much will to discuss open issues, but now, after today's
you are optimistic.
I'm again
and
optimistic.
We are all optimistic. Okay, at the end, at this interview, Mr. Kupac, you will go on next ministry meeting. What can Macedonia expect from this ministry meeting? What will be discussed there?
Ministerial Council in Tirana on Friday is important because of few things. One is that energy efficiency directive shall be adopted as part of energy community legal framework. This one is quite challenging, quite also not easy to be transposed into national legislation. Then we will adopt, or ministers will adopt, I believe, regulation on trans-European energy infrastructure, which will be a basis for new designing of projects of energy community interest, which are, for example, Bitola Elbasan. So this is important because it's possible to get co-financing for such projects. There will be provisions about reorganizing the energy community. For example, we are establishing so-called parliamentary assembly, or parliamentary plenum is called, and many other news. And there is also a decision about the reappointment of the director.
Mr. Kupac, thank you for your time, and thank you for being our guest in Analiza in 24 News.
Thanks for inviting me.
Почитувани, ви благодарам и на вас. Се надевам дека ви разјаснивме дел од дилемите што се однесуваат на енергетскиот сектор. Моето име е Марина. Имајте пријатна вечер.